Food and nutrition. In this lesson, we are going to learn about food and nutrition. The concept of nutrition. Living things need food to survive. Some living things can make their own food. They are called autotrophs. Animals cannot make their own food. They have to depend on other living things like plants or animals for food. Hence, animals are called heterotrophs. All living things need food for growth and to repair the wear and tear of their bodies. Carbohydrates, proteinous substances, and fatty substances, as also minerals and vitamins, are present in the items of our daily diet. There are various items in our food, such as rice, bhakris, chapatis, etc. These are starchy foods. Carbohydrates form a major part of these foods. We also have protein-rich foods, such as whole pulses, meat, and fish. We get salts and vitamins from food items like cucumbers, carrots, and leafy vegetables. We get fats from oil, ghee, etc. A balanced diet for good nourishment includes carbohydrates, proteins, fats, as well as minerals and vitamins in the proper proportion. We get energy from carbohydrates, proteins, as well as fats. Vitamins are necessary for ensuring that all life processes are carried out smoothly, while the elements in salts are necessary for bringing about the functions of enzymes. Modes of taking food. Different living things ingest or take in food in different ways. An amoeba does not have parts like hands, mouth, etc. It is a unicellular animal. It can take food from any part of the surface of its body, that is, of the cell. It engulfs or surrounds the food particle from all the sides and ingests it into the cell. Then enzymes act on the food particle and it gets digested. It leaves behind the undigested part and moves away using pseudopodia. Insects like the honeybee, butterfly take in food in a different way. A butterfly does not have parts like the mouth, teeth, etc. Instead, it has a tube-like part called a proboscis, through which it sucks the nectar from a flower. Nectar is the food of the butterfly. A frog eats insects. Insects are a frog's food. A frog has a tongue in its mouth. The tongue is attached to the front of its mouth. When the frog sees an insect, it opens its mouth and throws out its tongue towards the insect and pulls the insect into its mouth. The insect is then carried through the esophagus into the stomach, where it is digested and then assimilated. In multicellular animals, food is taken through the mouth. Human digestive system consists of parts like the mouth, esophagus, stomach, intestines, and anus. There are also various glands in the digestive system. When a morsel of food is put in the mouth, it is chewed fine by the teeth. The saliva secreted by the salivary glands is mixed with the food in the mouth. The bowls of food is pushed forward from the mouth and passes through the esophagus into the stomach. There, it is acted upon the digestive juices. The swallowed food passes into the food pipe or esophagus. The food pipe runs along the neck and the chest. Food is pushed down by movement of the wall of the food pipe. Actually, this movement takes place throughout the alimentary canal and pushes the food downwards. The stomach is a thick-walled bag. Its shape is like a flattened U, and it is the widest part of the alimentary canal. It receives food from the food pipe at one end and opens into the small intestine at the other. The inner lining of the stomach secretes mucus, hydrochloric acid, and digestive juices. The mucus protects the lining of the stomach. The acid kills many bacteria that enter along with the food and makes the medium in the stomach acidic. The digestive juices break down the proteins, carbohydrates into simpler substances. The small intestine is highly coiled and is about 7.5 meters long. It receives secretions from the liver and the pancreas. Besides, its wall also secretes juices. The liver is a reddish-brown gland situated in the upper part of the abdomen on the right side. It is the largest gland in the body. It secretes bile juice that is stored in a sac called the gallbladder. The bile plays an important role in the digestion of fats. The pancreas is a large cream-colored gland located just below the stomach. The pancreatic juice acts on carbohydrates and proteins and changes them into simpler form. The partly digested food now reaches the lower part of the small intestine, where the intestinal juice completes the digestion of all components of the food. The carbohydrates get broken into simple sugars such as glucose, fats into fatty acids, and glycerol, and proteins into amino acids. The digested food can now pass into blood vessels in the wall of the intestine. This process is called absorptions. In the cell, glucose breaks down with the help of oxygen into carbon dioxide and water, and energy is released. The food that remains undigested and unabsorbed then enters into the large intestine. The large intestine is wider and shorter than the smaller intestine. It is about 1.5 meters in length. Its function is to absorb water and some salts from the undigested food material. The remaining waste passes into the rectum and remains there as semi-solid fecus. The fecal matter is removed through the anus from the time to time. This is called egestion. Food-related needs of plants. Plants need food for their growth. Plants themselves prepare the food they need. In order to do this, plants absorb the required salts and water from the soil. Besides water, green plants need light, chlorophyll, carbon dioxide, and water for this purpose. In this process, plants convert light energy into chemical energy and store it in the form of food. This process of transformation is aided by chlorophyll. This process of transformation of energy is called photosynthesis. Green plants need carbon dioxide to produce the food. You can do the following experiment to verify this. Activity. Place a potted plant which has long leaves in complete darkness for 2 days. Take a jar with a large mouth and place some potassium hydroxide pellets in it. Now slit the stopper of this jar in half. Placing one long leaf between the two parts of the stopper, fit it on the mouth of the jar so that half the leaf is inside the jar and half outside. Place the pot in sunlight for the day. Then pluck the leaf of the plant as its stalk. Take some ethyl alcohol in the beaker in boiling water and heat it. The chlorophyll dissolves in the alcohol and the leaf becomes colorless. Take some water in a shallow dish and wash the colorless leaf in it. Change the water in the dish and add a few drops of iodine solution to it. What do you see? The part of the leaf that was inside the jar does not become blue. However, the part that was outside the jar turns blue. It means that starch was formed in this part. The part inside the jar received the water and sunlight. But the potassium hydroxide in the jar absorbed all the carbon dioxide from the air in the jar. Hence, photosynthesis could not take place in that part of the leaf. Therefore, starch, that is food, could not be made. Studying osmosis. Activity. Take some water in a flat dish. Place 2 or 3 black raisins in the water. After some hours, you will see that the raisin have swollen up. The cells of raisins contain sugar solution. The water around the cells enters the cell through the cell membrane and the raisins become turgid. The process is called osmosis. This is how the salt solution in the soil enters the roots of the plant. This is the function of the root hairs near the tip of the root. There is a cell membrane, cell wall around the root hair. The fluid in the cells of the root hair is concentrated. The salt and water in the soil pass through the semi-permeable cell membrane into the cell by the process called osmosis gradually. The salt solution reaches the inner part of the root and through the stem to all parts of the plant. Activity. Take a branch of the pumpkin climber with 2 or 3 leaves on it. Cut the end of the stem under water. Take some water in a beaker and add a few drops of red ink to it. The water will become red. Let the pumpkin branch stand in this red water. After some hours, you will see that the red color has risen into the veins in the leaf. If you look at the stem, you will find that the conduction tubes in it have got reddish tint. This tells us that water has risen into the leaves through these vessels. One of the functions of the stem of a plant is to support its branches, leaves, and flowers. At the same time, it carries the raw materials required for making food from the roots to the leaves and also carries the food made in the leaves to the other parts of the plant, that is the fruits, seeds, and roots for storing there. Although plants have this conducting system, they do not have any independent digestive or excretory systems. The waste products of metabolic processes are stored in plants in the form of gums, resins, or oils in such a way that they do not obstruct the normally used conduction pathways. Summary. All the food items we eat in a day are together called diet. A balanced diet is important for good nourishment. Different living things ingest food in different ways. Man's digestive system consists of certain parts, namely the mouth, esophagus, stomach, intestines, and anus, as also some glands. Plants themselves prepare the food they need. Plants need light, chlorophyll, carbon dioxide, and water for making the food. So that is all in this lesson, student. Enjoy learning.